So this is and I'm going to be going over my project for the AI PC pilot program by Intel. And what I did is create a retrieval augmented generation model with Google's Gemini and also a custom email data set. And the goal of this project was to generate meaningful email responses based on historical data. So let's go over some of the key elements. The first thing I want to mention is that I used the Enron email dataset. So the first thing I did, I'm basically just going to be walking you guys through my Jupyter notebook. This is on GitHub, it's publicly available. So first thing I did is install open datasets and pandas because I was going to be using that throughout the project. And the first thing I did with the open datasets library is download this Enron email dataset from Kaggle. After that, I imported pandas and I read that CSV that we downloaded from the from Kaggle, and I printed it, and you can see it's not great. There's a lot of different ways that it has a lot of unnecessary data that we don't really need for the data set. So the first thing I did is I cleaned the message up a little bit. So I basically split it based on this common string pattern that I saw occurred a lot. And I took that last pattern. So this should theoretically include mostly just like the actual message. So as you can see now, it still includes some things such as like the from and the to and the subject, but it mostly has the main content of the message. And right now this is cut off a little bit just because of the default settings that Jupyter Notebook has. But yes, this is the cleaned data set. And as we scroll down, the next thing that I did is import sentence transformers, which is a library which will help us generate dense vector embeddings for each email. And I also imported NumPy. So as we go here, right here, we're going to be using the Paraphrase Mini LM L6 V2 model. And as you can see here, where this is our cosine similarity function, which is what we're going to determine to see similarity between two vectors when we're doing that vector search part of the project. I also installed the Lucknow LLM, which is going to help us with encoding the different segments. So yeah, first thing I did is I got that split into segments, and I took my embedded data, and I got my embedded data by taking the data frame of the clean message and encoding it into vectors. The next thing I did is take some queries. So these are some sample queries that I generated, and I encoded it into the embedded queries. Next thing I did is using the Gemini API, I got a couple of thresholds, some safety settings, and some generation configurations. And then I basically got my model that I'm going to be using. Next, right after this, I have, for each query, basically, I go through and I assign a similarity score to it. And then I take the chunks from the data frame to the data frame of the clean message, and the chunks basically will provide us with the actual prompts that we want to submit into our model. And so first thing I do is I get the index of the prompts based on which ones are most similar. So I took the top three that are the most similar, and I found the actual and I found their specific index, and then I found the corresponding actual email based on those indices. I take those indices, and then I have this prompt that I generated that I tailored specifically for an email answering system, as you can see here. And then over here, I basically just included each query that we wanted to include. And so this is the full prompt. You can read through it on the GitHub. But as we can see here, it accurately generated reply for each query that I had. I had three queries, and it accurately generated a reply for all of them. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.